every time I, or anybody else probably, does an interview with Donald Trump, Mercedes Schlapp, you get all the people who are Trump fans who critique whether you were nice to him, whether you're not nice to him, how he did. Then you get all these other people who don't like Donald Trump, and they're saying, why is he on my TV screen again? So let me go to an email from Ruth Baker in Illinois. She says, I record and watch your show regularly. That's a good sign, Ruth. However, today I fast forwarded the entire show. I will continue to do this to every Fox program that wastes my time with the babble of Trump. The only reason his poll numbers are high is because we hear almost nothing about what and where the other candidates are.
Wow. Well, first of all, Ruth, you should keep watching Media Buzz if you can, because it's a great show, even also, when Donald Trump is on. And there's diverse opinions on that show.
Also, the segments that you were on
right.
with Betsy Woodruff and Molly Ball were not, I mean, we talked about Trump. We also talked about the Democratic debate and the New York Times and other things. But there is this view among the Trump detractors, and they are vociferous, that basically we in the media have magically made this bombastic millionaire the front runner because we give him so much oxygen.
Well, what Donald Trump does is he's able to create so much emotion. So his Trump supporters, as we know on social media, very strong voice in that platform. And then those who don't like Donald Trump really don't like Donald Trump, which is why his unfavorables are so high as well. And so I think that what the media is trying to sort out is this real? I mean, is Donald Trump the real thing? We are in but we are in an unprecedented moment where we have a celebrity entertainment type transform himself into a politician.
I built a great company, lots of jobs.
Right. I
mean,
mean,
just an entertainment.
Don't get me wrong.
Yeah.
Ronald Reagan was an actor. We got it. He became president. But this is just so different than whatever we have seen in a political cycle where the media and many political pundits have said there is no way Donald Trump is going to become the nominee, to all of a sudden, oh my goodness, he could actually become the GOP nominee.
Right. I just have to push back on the only reason Trump's poll numbers are so high is because we are constantly writing about him, talking about him, putting him on the air. But even if that were true, which I don't think it is, and it kind of is giving Trump short shrift for the skills that it takes to master the media.
That's right.
And that's the thing, is that it's not just that, you know, we all got in a room. In fact, a lot of media people don't like Trump, but even the negative attention helps him.
Right. Well, and also it's because Trump is delivering a message that right now is resonating with a very frustrated segment of the GOP electorate. It's working. It's his sort of, they're so tired of how things are being run in Washington. They're tired of the GOP establishment. They like his political incorrectness, and it's one of the reasons that's driving the poll numbers. Plus, we have 13 more candidates in there. That's also mixing up the poll numbers as well.
Well, I do agree we should give more attention to the other candidates, but I also echo your point that the other candidates...
Get on the shows. Come on.
There's the invitation. But I do think that Trump puts himself out there in a way that no other candidate I have seen has. Sure. If you don't like him, fine, but you should want us to interview him and ask the tough questions.
And you should have these other candidates learn how to dominate the news cycle and have strong messaging.
Breaking tonight, campaign controversy after one of the most powerful media outlets in the land attacks a candidate's young children. Welcome to the Kelly File. I'm Sandra Smith in for Megyn Kelly tonight. Well, it all started with a lighthearted political ad starring Ted Cruz and his family. In it, the Cruzes spoofed some made-up Christmas classics. Watch.
The whole family will enjoy reading stories like The Grinch, Who Lost Her Emails.
I know just what I'll do, she said with a snicker. I'll use my own server, and no one will be the wiser.
And if you act now, we'll throw in the inspiring new Christmas story, soon to be an instant classic.
Please read this one, Daddy.
Okay.
The Senator Who Saved Christmas.
Oh, this is a good one.
But just a few days later, a Washington Post political cartoonist accused Cruz of using his 5- and 7-year-old daughters as political props, and went so far as to portray the presidential candidate in a Santa outfit with an organ grinder and little Catherine and Caroline Cruz as monkeys. Outrage ensued, and within hours, the image was taken off of the Washington Post's website. But cartoonist Ann Telnaeus is not apologizing, taking to Twitter, arguing the little girls are fair game because Cruz put his children in the ad, something many politicians on both sides of the aisle do. The paper's editorial page editor had a different take, saying, quote, "It's generally been the policy of our editorial section to leave children out of it. I failed to look at this cartoon before it was published. I understand why Ann thought an exception to the policy was warranted in this case, but I do not agree." Meanwhile, Senator Cruz hit back on Twitter and on the campaign trail.
You know, I have to admit, yesterday when I saw that cartoon, not much ticks me off. But making fun of my girls, that'll do it. All of us learned in kindergarten, don't hit little girls. It's not complicated. Don't make fun of a 5-year-old girl and a 7-year-old girl. Listen, everyone expects the mainstream media to be liberal, to be biased. Folks want to attack me, knock yourself out. That's part of the process. I signed up for that. That's fine. But my girls didn't sign up for that.
Several of his fellow candidates also agreed with him, suggesting the paper was way out of line. In the hours since, the Cruz campaign has started fundraising off that cartoon, saying the liberal media is desperate to destroy him and his family. As for the Post, well, it's now suggesting this was all a gift to Cruz because, in part, it boosts his argument that the media doesn't treat him or conservatives fairly. Joining us now, Chris Stirewalt, our Fox News digital politics editor, and Howard Kurtz, host of Fox News Media Buzz. Chris, I got to start with you first on this. Is there anything okay about this political cartoonist using a presidential candidate's children?
Well, I'd have sure like to have seen what would have happened if they'd have done that with the Obama girls. I don't think that washed. And when you wonder about double standards and you wonder about how life is different for Republican candidates than it is for Democratic candidates, here you have one of the first top-tier, one of the two first top-tier Hispanic candidates running for president ever. For a major party. The guy's running, and his daughters are portrayed as monkeys by the Washington Post. How would that have worked if this had been Barack Obama in 2007? I think the outrage would have been much, much louder because it would have been right in both cases. No matter what Ted Cruz does with his daughters in an ad, they're his daggone daughters, and he can do it, and there is no space for anybody in any news outlet to use them for their purposes.
Well, Howie, we know what happens if it's the Obama daughters, because that did happen. In the case of the turkey pardon, a GOP staffer criticized their appearance and their behavior at a turkey pardon. That GOP staffer was then fired. What should happen to this Washington Post editor? You're saying he should apologize. Should he be fired? He says he failed to look at it before it was published.
Well, look, no editor can look at every piece of content before it's posted online, but this is an utter embarrassment to the Washington Post. And the gall of that Washington Post columnist to say, well, my news organization just slimed Ted Cruz. But this is actually a political gift to the senator. Cruz advisor Rick Tyler telling me, yes, we're raising money on this, but not nearly enough to cover the damage. And the damage, of course, is the human element here. This is a dad with 2 little girls, and they've been portrayed as animals. So on what, this is not some gray area, gee, maybe the paper went too far. This is an outrage, and the muted media explosion, Chris is right, had this involved Sasha and Malia or Chelsea Clinton, it would have been a nuclear explosion.
Well, we do know that Ted Cruz, Chris, is he's raising campaign funds on this. We actually have the fundraising email that was sent out. He said, "I'm sickened by this. I knew I'd be facing attacks from day one of my campaign, but he said I had never expected anything like this." Anyway, he said, "This is an emergency. All hands on deck. Click here to make an instant emergency contribution and help me fight back." So is this a good tactic for him to turn around and use it to raise money?
Very often conservatives don't know who they are going to be interested in supporting until they find out who the press hates the most. And in the case of a Republican primary race, having the Washington Post, and by the way, every news outlet treats Ted Cruz as if he is some sort of troglodyte, and they can't believe it very often. That Ted Cruz, like, how do they like this guy? He's so conservative. He's so polarizing. Why this guy? And they keep coming after him. What they don't understand is everything that they do that they think think is hurting Ted Cruz, is hardening, is annealing the conservative base around him, the way it's done for Sarah Palin, the way it's done for Donald Trump, the way it's done for other figures. The conservatives say, wait a minute, if they're coming after him, this guy must be doing something right.
Well, Howie, we have a moment that perhaps we should remind the audience, the moment you shared with Megyn back in April, the media running after Hillary's Scooby van and the attention. As we discussed the double standard, take a look.
Howie, I'm sorry, but when I see those reporters chasing after their subject, who remains so elusive, who despite their best efforts they cannot seem to pin down, the reporters there reminded me of the reporters here. Remember this? The police. They look like the police. Look at the police. The police did their best to try to capture an elusive subject, and the reporters did the same. Not comparing the subjects to one another. I want to underscore that.
Howie, we had to.
You had to. Well, look, that was not the media's finest hour. I would point out that other reporting on Hillary Clinton has pointed out, for example, the fiasco of her private email server. And I got to disagree with Chris a little bit. I don't think every single reporter at every single news organization is biased against Ted Cruz. But the New York Times recently, now his senator is surging the polls, a clear #2 to Donald Trump. You know, this whole piece on how unlikable he is, and he's trying to get likable, but little kids don't like him. So when a Pulitzer Prize winning cartoonist like Ann Telnaes does this, portraying the kids as animals, and then is sort of tone deaf, at least could go online or make a statement and saying, gee, maybe I went too far, it does fuel the senator's argument that the liberal media are out to get him. It tars everybody in this profession.
Come on, Howie, we just had such a fun moment. I mean, you broke away
I'm
from
getting
it.
too serious.
I mean, Chris, in your note this morning, you included that as one of the worst media fails of 2015. I mean, can't we just have a laugh for a minute?
Not the llamas. The llamas was a high point. The llamas was one of the best things that happened in 2015, and they were even able to decode it to the point of saying that the black llama was taken into custody first, and what does this mean for the Black Lives Matter movement? It was a rich, nuanced discussion. Twitter, for politics, however, has been worse than it has been for llamas, and not to bring it down, but unfortunately, in the airless crypt that is good sense, good reason, and good judgment in politics, much of that has gone away as reporters have joined in candidates in chasing phony outrage after outrage after outrage after outrage, and frankly, I'm tired. I'm glad the year's over. I need a break.
Chris, I mean, we've got an election year coming up, so go get some rest, buddy. I mean, Howie, we got the Iowa caucus 40 days away. Do you expect anything to change in 2016 as we leave it off?
Well, it is just amazing how much this campaign has been distracted by phony controversies, manufactured outrage, and the like. But to me, the much bigger fundamental failure here has been the way in which the entire media establishment, let's face it, missed the rise of Donald Trump, mocked and minimized him, and said he was going to implode any minute, and more important, you know, failed to understand the anger and anxiety in the country that Trump was connecting with, and then the deep distrust of the political establishment and the media establishment. That's not a great laugh line, but it has not been a great year for the Fourth Estate.
All right, well, Chris is tired, so we've got to let him go get some rest.